I have 2 weeks to search all of the former Soviet Union for the superhumans that can stop a supervillain.
Exactly right. These people are our only hope.
What's the name of the mission?
Guardians.
Zashchitniki.
We're all the same.
Лер. Хан. Arsus.
You want to know who did this to you? Come with us.
Rapid military attacks on Moscow continue.
Army turned out to be useless against the opposition forces. All attempts to stop it ended up with a complete shutdown of enemy.
There's no coming back. For all of us.
Our experimental laboratory designed special gear to increase your performance.
Where's mine?
My darling dream.
We grew up in the 80s. And because we grew up in the 80s, in the last days of the original Cold War, I think that we're working our way toward a new Cold War. Definitely when we get an actual president instead of a pawn of Vladimir Putin.
Okay,
I think there's going to be some consequences. But back in the 80s, we were still in the original Cold War that had started after World War II. And so we grew up with Russians both being the enemies, and also that was at a period of time where there was a fair amount of outreach too, where we were seeing some positive portrayals of Russians. Yakov Smirnoff was, of course, doing his goodwill tour as well.
I still remember the Robin Williams.
Moscow on the Hudson.
Yeah, Moscow on the Hudson. There you go.
Yeah.
I remember that movie, like the scene where he's running around in the mall trying to buy blue jeans. I was thinking, wow, that's the movie Ruskies.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, there's a big thing where as long as you wanted to defect, as long, that the Russian people just wanted to get away from the tyrannical rule of communism and bullshit.
Yeah.
And so they were good people, but anybody who actually was sworn into the state was evil, and Rocky was going to have to punch them and punish them for their ways.
I remember people when we watched that movie, they're like, it's going to start World War III because they showed Rocky beating up a Russian. I remember people were like freaking out over that movie because the portrayal of Russians were like either they were dope, they basically were cheaters. They couldn't keep up with the American montage.
Well, they kind of are a bunch of cheaters, and they do all dope up, so it's not like it was that big of a stretch. The question is, how much do we dope up as well that we don't like to talk about? So, but we definitely, without question, know the Ruskies do. But anyway, because we grew up with all this Russian iconography, and because Russia was like the enemy, if there are equals and adversaries, and they've got power, they're formidable, you have to afford them a certain amount of respect because, you're watching Red Dawn and the commies are taking over the U.S., so it's like, wow, these guys are capable of that, they must be pretty big badasses. G.I. Joe had the Winter Guard, they're Russian opposites. And then Glasnost happens. Scorpion is singing The Winds of Change. Jesus Jones is singing Right Here, Right Now. And it's like, okay, well, we're doing all that shit.
Wait, let's talk. Oh, no, yeah, you're right. No, you're right.
And so for years I was like, Russia, whatever, But one thing I did kind of find interesting is as I got older, I would look at the old Russian propaganda, all that communist stuff, and it was kind of cool. I mean, I dug that. It was very kind of Orwellian, the shit they put up, but I could also compare it to our stuff and be like, well, by looking at the Russian stuff, I could see that we ourselves were similarly nationalistic, jingoistic. We put out our own propaganda as well. And so it gave me a better worldview. It's like, okay, well, we're both doing kind of the same kind of shit. And especially as I got older and became more educated about the U.S. government, I realized how much fucked up stuff we were getting up to. So it's not so much much that the Russians were the evil empire, they were just our competition. And so I like some of that Russian iconography. I like the idea of things like that they had their own parallels to us. Again, the Winter Guard. It's like, yeah, we've got G.I. Joe, but they've got their own version of G.I. Joe. And
wasn't there one in Marvel too?
Yeah, you had the Soviet super soldiers, who were their Avenger. And in that respect, they definitely came up a bit short. At some point, I've talked to David Gallagher, who did a Soviet super soldiers miniseries. And I bought the trade a while back, and everybody had gotten around to reading it. And then, of course, we stopped hearing from him. So it's like, okay, well, maybe that's just not going to happen. I don't know. But I was fascinated by these Russian equivalents of what the U.S. had.
Yeah.
And in particular, they have a member, Ursa Major, who becomes a giant werebear dude, right? And so then last year, I think it was, Russia comes out with their own superhero movie, which we translated as Guardians. And as soon as I saw it, especially when I saw the werebear, just like Ursa Major, it's like, holy shit, I want to see that movie. And it took a while before it made it to the U.S. It flopped in Russia. It did not make its production money back in Russia, and it opened on a Russian holiday, like the Fatherland Day or some shit like that. The fact that the Russians didn't want their own Russian superheroes did not bode well.
They did not support their Avengers.
Right. Although, it's a weird thing, too, because in recent years, we've seen so much Russian propaganda TV, and especially in the Trump era, we've kind of been paying a lot of attention to a lot of that shit. The state-sponsored homophobia, state-sponsored attacks on our voting and everything else. So I'm definitely seeing Russia as the enemy again, which is funny, because I remember when John McCain and Barack Obama were having their debates, and McCain kept bringing up Russia. I was like, you fucking old world fossil, man. What the fuck are you talking about Russia for? Hillary did the same thing. What is this old world thinking, you guys? And then they fucking hack our election. It's like, holy shit, they were right about Russia this entire time. Fuck, man. So I'm definitely seeing them as the adversaries again, and they're definitely trying to build themselves up. Huh?
I don't.
You don't see the Russians as that adversary?
No, I mean, they got comic nerds over there too that are, I'm sure, not happy with their government. It's just their government is more, government is more heavy-handed with them, where we can actually go and protest, and they're...
Well, that and something we don't take into account is after Glasnost, you had a lot of very state-critical television, and because of Putin wresting power and his assassinations and his intimidation campaigns...
Just put us on the list, you asshole.
It's not like it's a secret. But because of that, the state television now is very favorable to him. And of course, we know that their elections are rigged so that he keeps winning. But like he recently won an election, and the people know that they have like a pathetic turnout because everybody knows that it's fixed anyway, so they just don't show up. So it's not like the television and the polls actually reflect the Russian people. I think it's just a situation where they spent most of the 20th century under communism's heel, and now they're under Putin and the oligarchs' heel. So we don't really know what the Russian people themselves want. We just know what they tell us that
their
they want.
Kids are not going to realize the hardship their grandparents went through, like the shortages and stuff.
But it's still not milk and honey for them either.
But there's still enough of a distance between what their grandparents remember, the hardships, to what they're going through now. I mean, we're definitely in another Cold War. It's just a different front. Yeah, it's just a different front.
Well, and I think that we have to shoulder some of that blame of that too. I think that you look back to the first Bush years and the Clinton years when we kind of left Russia to their own devices. Back in the day when we had Gorbachev, and especially when we shifted to Boris Yeltsin, it's like we didn't help the government. You know, we didn't have like a Marshall Plan there. You know,
yeah. We just assumed democracy would bloom across the Soviet bloc, and they would have flowers. It'd be the end of JLA with all those special flowers popping up everywhere. Justice League.
Yeah. And
I know it was a weak joke.
Well, I think that you think that Justice League made more of an impression on me, at least, than it actually did. But yeah, it's like we knew Yeltsin was weak. We knew things were not working out as far as the capitalist front goes. We know that they had taken a lot of state resources and handed it over to the oligarchs, and we didn't do anything to help, and we didn't do anything to stop that shit from happening. So we allowed our enemy to come back again, and they're not what they used to be, but to some degree, we're not what we used to be either. And so it might be us kind of trading blows again as China's ascendant, India's ascendant, and we're both in decline, but we still are antagonizing one another. I don't think you're ever going to see the USSR again, despite some of the bullshit they've pulled, but they're still like the guys that regardless of like the saber rattling with North Korea and with Iran and stuff, I think they're still like our opposite number to a large degree. We're not going to be able to get into a conflict with China. A, it'll never be an open conflict, and B, they've got so much over us now that we're just not comparable to China.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
What does that have to fucking do with this movie? Because you've gotten on a soapbox, dude, and gone so fucking outside the park.
My point being is that...
Yes, please bring it back, because you're in the forest.
I don't think the Russian people showed up for propagandistic Russian superheroes, especially because they're goofy and there. Definitely Cheap Jack. I think a Chinese company ended up supporting a lot of the production of this movie. My understanding is the writing, the acting, and the special effects are Asylum caliber. And so if the Russian people didn't show up for this movie, maybe they don't show up for a lot of the bullshit that we're having trouble with Russia as well.
Was Black Panther released over there?
I don't think it's hit Russia yet. No.
Okay.
But Guardians of the Galaxy did better in Russia than Guardians did.
Oh.
But I was interested in it because, again, I see Russia still as our opposite number because of when I was raised and because of current circumstances. And so I'm interested for that reason. I'm always interested in seeing other countries' versions of superheroes. Not so much Japan because they kind of do their own thing and because there's such a huge proliferation of them. And because I don't see the direct parallel between our superhero teams and Gatchaman or Power Rangers. They took something that was ours and did their own thing with it. And so I don't really see that as analogous to what we do. But obviously the Guardians are very much like a superhero team of an American stripe, just configured to be more Russian. So I was really curious to see what they were going to come up with. What's the Russian superhero team come up with? And reviews say that it's boring and it's bad and don't waste your time on it. But god damn it, I want to see fucking Guardians. I want to see it for however bad it happens to be. And I'm glad that you're going to be along the ride with me. Do you have any thoughts on Russian superheroes or seeing Guardians?
Yay.
Okay, so you're kind of doing this under protest because I'm forcing you, right?
Help.
Yeah. So now we're going to begin our journey with Guardians.
So me and Fryho talked about this movie because we wanted to see it because anything that's superhero. I mean, me and him are still making plans to watch fucking Grendel. It's a Norwegian, some kind of fucking superhero. It looks like a Spawn /
Is it anything to do with
Grendel Prime? I have no idea. We watched a trailer for it because he's really into Norwegian shit. We watched the trailer for it and I'm like, I don't know what they're saying, but he's fucking killing people like crazy. Looks cool as shit. I can watch, I've watched lots of foreign films, so I'm down for reading.
It looks kind of like South.
I thought he looked more like Grendel Prime.
Okay. Oh, so you think that's what they're doing?
Dude, I have no fucking idea. I watched the trailer and had no idea what was going on in it except some suited dude killing people. So me and him are the like mind that will watch a superhero movie from wherever. Dude, I watched a Indian. Is from India or Pakistan, and he was like, guess a Terminator, and he had the ability to magnify guns and turn them on people. Really fucking weird movie.
I think I'm vaguely familiar with what you're talking about.
It's on YouTube. Caught it on YouTube. Somebody didn't dub it, but they put the subtitles. So I got through about half of it. It was entertaining. It was fucking weird as shit. And apparently it was a high-grossing movie over there. So I'm pretty much down to watch any superhero movie. I mean, I have sat through DC films, so I can go through anything.
We'll see how Guardians compares to the DC.
I'm putting it up there like with Wonder Woman, maybe.
It's never gonna end with you. By the way,
I'm kidding. I've seen the trailers for this. It looks like a straight to DVD movie. Sometimes those are. I'm hoping it's going to be so bad it's good. Like this is the type of movie that I could send to Paul Scheer and say, "How did this get made?" And hey, y'all can do something on this one because this is so bad it's good. Because
that's what we're hoping for now.
The 3 trailers I've seen, I think at one point the bear has like fucking Gatling guns for hands. So I'm like, I'm on board with this. I have no fucking idea. It's probably going to be bashing. Dude, we sat through the Night Watch?
I was about to say, what is your background with Russian cinema?
I mean, I've seen Night Watch.
We watched Night Watch together,
which was good, and then Day Watch was I don't think
I ever watched. I think you told me it was bad.
I think. Let's see, what else have I seen?
And it's funny too because you like that same director when he did Wanted.
Yeah,
and I don't know what else he did in his career, but I remember he did Wanted. And
I remember just Night Watch being so weird, and it was. But
great imagery. Yeah, it was cool.
I tend to enjoy foreign films. Pussycat got me into them more because we would watch. She was more Japanese. Well, actually, Japanese heavy foreign. Like we watched Ichi and what was it?
The Takeshi Miike movies. Yeah.
No, but what's the one with the killer with the fucked up smile and the
Ichi the Killer.
Ichi the Killer. There you go. We watched like Ichi the Killer, and we would go to the River Oaks Theater and see like The Ring, like the originals before the remakes and shit. Yeah. So we would go. So we were in touch with that shit. And then from there we would start watching like foreign films from other countries. And it was weird because in my house we watched the Spanish channel all the time. So they never had like I can't think of any real like superhero movies. But I remember just watching like I was raised around foreign films.
I felt like the luchadors were the Mexican equivalent.
Oh yeah, well yeah. I mean, those were, I guess yeah. I mean, we would watch that shit, kung fu films. I remember one time going.
Well, I wasn't meaning like international. I was talking specifically to Russian though.
Well, okay. Russian besides the Night Watch, Day Watch.
I know I tried to watch the original Solaris, and it was at least as boring as the Soderbergh remake. So I didn't make it through either one of them. I don't think. There was some other sci-fi movie I'd seen.
This may be the
70s.
third Russian film I've ever seen in my life.
I haven't seen a lot of them.
I can't think of any on the top of my head that is Russian. Now I do play a lot of games like Fallout that has like Russian overtones and stuff.
Let's dive into it. Let's see how we like our Russian superhero.
Is there any movie that came out of Russia that's well renowned?
I'm sure, but it's probably art house type stuff that we haven't watched or that I'm not thinking of right now.
I'm afraid there's probably a movie I've watched and I thought it was like Danish or some shit and it turns out it was Russian. I don't know.
So what happens in... Okay, let me see if I can get the name right.
So we just saw the sequel to Justice League.
Prequel.
It was interesting.
It came out before.
No, I'm calling this the sequel to Justice League because it's just as good.
Okay. So what happens in the movie?
Bad.
No. I'm not asking your opinion. I'm asking you... There it is. Hold on.
They got a stinger. These sons of bitches got a stinger.
Okay, so what happens in this movie?
It was just bad. I mean...
What's the plot? What's it about?
I'm not even sure I followed it. It's like a poor man's Avengers team is going up against Sloth from the fucking Goonies, who now controls machines. The pacing was fucking... I mean, it's your atypical bad guy wants to rule the world, good guy team comes together, they create the fucking Fantastic Four to stop Sloth from taking over the world because he can control machines with his brain.
To its credit, Sloth has been given Venom and become Bane.
Yeah.
There's even a scene where he breaks the back of one of the team members, and it's pretty much straight out of Nightfall. He's even kind of dressed like Bane. He definitely has the tubing.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. Okay, maybe not Sloth, more like Bane.
But no, you're right. He definitely had Sloth face. Though.
Yeah.
And he looked like Big Baby. You know, that costume? Yeah.
Actually, I thought he looked like a Blaster from Master Blaster.
I can see that. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I was like,
Actually, one thing that was disappointing to me is how derivative most of the design stuff was.
That's the only thing?
No, I said one of the bad things.
Oh, okay.
Is like, because most of the powers and the manifestation of those powers are really like common in American
Well, not even that. No.
Because you got the Rock guy.
Oh, no. They're so badly done. You have the reverse suit.
The movie cost
she has
$6 million at most.
She has to be touched by water to go invisible.
Okay, so the chick didn't have to be touched by water.
Yes, she said she goes, I get touched by water and I can go invisible. That device they put on her later lets her turn invisible.
Okay,
Rock dude.
Okay, so this is Kseniya, and she's a blonde chick. She's got really sad tattoos that look like thorns and leaves and shit. It's just
very emo.
Yeah, it's very distracting.
And she can live forever.
And as you said, she turns into water, but I guess she has to be in contact with water
to turn invisible.
She doesn't quite turn invisible though, because
there's a sheen to her.
Okay, so we got to get, because you're jumping ahead too much. The basic premise is during the Cold War, the government had a program which translated into Patriot, and they were creating super soldiers. And the program was a success, but apparently one of the scientists' aspect of the program wasn't a success. So they're going to shut him down, or they shut the program down for reasons that aren't explained.
No, they shut his down because his doesn't work.
Okay,
and they put the funds to the other guy.
So the other guy
who's creating the monsters.
But why did they shut down the program then?
They don't explain this shit,
okay.
dude. I told you.
They don't explain that. They don't explain.
I told you the pacing was weird.
So the evil scientist dude goes off and keeps working on his science, and the government shows up to try to stop him, and so he detonates a bomb inside of his lab that blows up the lab. He survives, and even though he was working on a way of controlling machines, he gets all these other superpowers like superhuman strength and invulnerability and shit. But then he eventually gets control of machines, right? But,
well, that was the point of his device.
Yeah, but see, the thing of it is, presumably this happened decades ago, because the big thing was they created these guys during the Cold War. They were active since at least the 1970s, because they made a point of pinning that date. But the government shuts down the super soldier program for reasons unknown. This guy's wandering around for 40 fucking years without actually commencing with his plan, unless this is a period piece and it's set in the 80s and we don't know.
No, tech was too high tech for 80s.
Yeah, so it's why the fuck would you have it set? Why are they all it's dumb that they would make them essentially immortals, or they age so slowly that they appear to have not aged since at least the 1970s. They're just gonna let these guys chill out in the wilderness somewhere. They're supposed to have disappeared so that they can't be found. They're Nick Fury, which is a hot blonde chick, of course, in a too tight skirt, thankfully. So she's talking about, it's gonna be very difficult to find these guys. And so in one scene, a bunch of guys get on computers at her direction and find 4 of the former Guardians super pronto. And so one of them is that chick, and the chick's in a circus where she shows off her powers. So she should have been the first person they go to. Instead, she's the last person they go to. And it's she didn't even go into proper hiding. What's the deal? You got one dude that became a priest.
Yeah, the Tara ripoff.
The what now?
The chick from the Teen Titans.
Oh, Tara.
Tara,
yeah, okay. The rock powers.
Yeah, which I thought was
a cheap enough power that they use on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you know?
But, okay, just stick with me here. The whole point was this guy putting a tower up to control satellite.
But you're getting we got to tell who the powers are.
And that's what I'm saying. He has the power to control rocks, but they never explain if is it just little rocks or could he make a building tip over because he has control over rocks.
Like the rock is inside the building. So
that's my point. Is I'm assuming he could,
or you could just get a bunch of rocks and throw that at the building until it falls over. And
I'm assuming he could make. I'm assuming he could control rocks. So why can't he make a building just tip over? But no, it's only little rocks. So I'm like, well, your power's pretty fucking useless. Then I mean,
and that's a problem too. Okay, and then like I said, so you got the chick that sort of turns into water. Apparently, I think, but you never use intangibility as one of her powers. Like they're shooting bullets, and she's constantly trying to avoid getting shot. Where if she can turn into water, why didn't she just let the bullets pass through her like Fathom or something?
I don't think she turns into water. I think the water turns invisible.
So she touches water, and that allows her to become invisible. She's transparent.
I guess she takes on
she's transparent because people can still see her. So what's the fucking? Well, they can't sometimes, but she still has this heat signature, even though she's water. It doesn't make any sense. And then you got Man Bear Pig, aka Arsus, who's a werebear with cut abs, who I personally is my favorite. I think he looks cool.
But he's still
horrible. But he's still the Hulk. He's still basically the Hulk at the end of the day, but it's like a feral Hulk.
But when your final form is turning into an actual fucking bear, that's stupid. That's just stupid. That. That's lazy writing.
And then you got so Lear is the rock dude, and then
what's his name?
Who's Lear?
Oh shit, man! I thought his name was Layer, like layers of rocks. I'm like,
no. All their names are Russian, so they kept the Russian.
Oh, okay. I was like, layer. I'm like, layers of the crust. Okay.
Yeah. And then you got the super speed ninja who's Khan, and I have to give credit to the movie because there's only 4 members. They have more gender diversity than the Avengers had in their first movie because 1 in 4 of them is a woman, and then they have more racial diversity than the Avengers because 1 of the 4 of them is not a Caucasian. So they've got that over the Avengers. Well, he's Russian, but he's Kazakh. He's a Kazakh, or I guess that's what you call it. He's Asian because he's from the part of Russia that would also be like Northern Asia, which I thought was cool. I didn't expect that. I didn't realize he was going to be that. But what gets me is he's basically like he's dressed like the Winter Soldier with a little extra Metal Gear Solid fashion, and he's supposed to be a super speedster, but really what he is Nightcrawler because his super speed manifests as something that resembles teleportation, and it more specifically exactly like the teleportation displayed by Nightcrawler in the X-Men movies with the poofs of smoke. But he's also got these giant saber things, which actually I think is the coolest part of him. I like that the 2 sabers form this big circle around him. That doesn't look like anything else we've seen, and they're so gigantic that makes him distinctive too. But really the team is Man Bear Pig and Winter Soldier because the other 2 are totally generic. And again, unfortunately, they carry on a tradition with the Marvel movies where the woman on the team is the weakest with the most pathetic powers. Because aside from either becoming invisible or turning into water without becoming intangible, the thing is she's a martial artist. That's all she's got going for her, where everybody else has actual powers that are effective. Probably my favorite sequence in the movie is at the very beginning where they're showing the creation of the super soldiers. I thought it was hilarious that they would have Leonardo da Vinci style drawing of a person and then a bear, and it's like you're supposed to think okay, the person becomes a bear. I see what you're displaying here, and you're doing it in this archaic fashion, but I think you're missing some steps because you don't just go from man to bear. I like how they have the diagram of the woman, and in one they've got a circle around the woman's torso, and the other one there's nothing inside the circle, so that suggests invisibility. But you're missing some steps. This looks like you should have how did you get to this point that you were able to do this?
Did I not explain the pacing is really fucking weird?
Yeah, you talk a little bit about this.
So the movie jumps as those scenes are missing.
Yeah.
Like things will happen. There's one scene where when they go visit the rock monk, the Thing, when they go visit him, you literally see the actress, the Nick Fury of the film. She's standing at the doorway.
Which we'll now refer to for the rest of the discussion as Brigitte Nielsen.
Okay, Brigitte Nielsen.
She's specifically Brigitte Nielsen in Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Oh, I was thinking Rocky.
I can see it too. Yeah, okay.
So as the scene starts, you see where she's standing in her position to walk in through the walkway. I'm like, wow, like they didn't even have her walk like through the walkway. She's waiting so the other guy can turn the corner, and then she's like, okay, now go. I was just like, oh, wow. I mean,
the acting was really bad.
It felt like it was like everyone's first movie, and nobody kind of knew what they were doing. Like they didn't give you the sense that the movie was fluent, like there was a flow to it. It was just like we stand here, we move to the next scene, and then the pacing was just so fucking.
I don't think this movie had a single set. I think that everything was green screen.
Yeah, it felt that way.
Nobody ever interacts with their environment correctly at any point in the movie.
It just felt like the movie jumped so much because it just jumped a lot. Like,
I think one of the best examples, one of the things that drove me nuts about this movie is you got the 4 superheroes versus the 1 supervillain, right? And so they fight the guy and he beats them immediately. His team beats them because since he helped create them, even though it was supposed to be the other scientists who created them. So I don't know why he would necessarily know how to defeat these specific guys. I know why, because there was an evil general who told him which guardians they had, and so he was able to neutralize them pretty much immediately, which made sense, I guess. But like again, the chick is the first one out almost immediately, so she gets frozen in place as ice. So again, she's supposed to be water, right? But not. It doesn't. She never gets any value out of that. And so we get to see the other guys fighting. So they're captured, and then so while they're being held, the evil dude left the rock guy behind because he'd broken his back, and so watching them at his secret base as he's trying to talk them into joining his side, which is like, well, why would you break the back of the rock dude since you were owning him anyway? You didn't have to break him. But having broken him, why would you just leave him behind? So then it turns out that rock dude is still alive, and the good Brigitte Nielsen takes him back to her base and shoots him up with blue fluid, not unlike what we saw in the Winter Soldier, and his back's unbroken by that, which doesn't make a lot of sense. And then they reveal that the scientist who helped create them is still alive after all this time. And so you're immediately showing Brigitte Nielsen's team taking over the bad guy's base and able to free the Guardian. And it's like, wait, the Guardians couldn't take this guy, but Brigitte Nielsen is able to overcome his defenses and free them. Too.
It was very simple.
Yeah, very simple. Yeah, it gets you. They basically just walk into the. You don't you really see them going into the base and having any kind of resistance. She's just sort of like walking in with her team. It's
they killed two guys and they killed two guys and they're in the base.
Right, and then almost immediately, evil dude is at their base confronting the scientist guy who he kills with gas, but he still manages to stay alive long enough to tell of a secret power that the Guardians are going to have, even though this
the power of communism, because we're all together.
We'll come back to the Care Bear stare in just a minute.
Okay.
Then they fight him again on his tower, which looks an awful lot like Stark Tower from the Avengers.
Oh wait, you missed the best part. The montage where they all get special weapons and armor.
Oh no, did that happen already?
Yeah, dude, you skipped that completely.
This is what's so fucked up. Okay, so the guys get beaten because evil dude had, who I'm going to call Ivan Vanko from now on, because he's kind of like Whiplash too. Huh?
Hey, you guys.
We'll go with Bane. Ivan Vanko or Bane. Yeah, because he does the electric whip thing too. Or we can call
Whiplash.
him Maximum Overdrive. He can be Maximum Overdrive because that's his whole power, is he can control all the vehicles and weapons and shit. And he's also got a clone army, but they're normal people. So instead of having clones of himself with all the cool powers.
Then they brought the clones to life, because I thought they hadn't brought them online yet.
Yeah, well, no, that's who all the soldiers were. They were his clone army.
Oh, okay.
But see, I guess they were clones of him when he was still a human, because they're just dudes with like machine guns, and all wear masks.
It's very Metal Gear Solid themed. Like they look like from Metal Gear.
Cyborgy too, though, because they got like robot.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think they were his clones.
But he kept talking about his clone army, and now you never see them. They have to be the clones, right?
I fucking have no idea.
I know, it doesn't make any damn sense. So anyway, he had inside information, so he beats them the first time. So they immediately make them level up their powers. So they put on the costumes, even though they're already wearing costumes. So it's basically just variations on that. And so now Rock Guy, instead of becoming the Thing by giving himself a rock armor, now he's got an electric whip with some rocks in it. Yeah. And you never pretty much see him use the rocks for the most part again. He's just running around with his electric whip. It's like, what?
It has rocks attached to it.
I know it has rocks attached to it, but it's dumb. Yeah. And so they give Altered Beast a Gatling gun.
Oh, that's a good one. Altered Beast, nice.
I'm not entirely sure what they give Winter Soldier, because he
has an armor that can't be penetrated by knives, bullets, or tranquilizers.
A tranquilizer dart, which is so stupid.
Oh my god!
And then she can turn invisible at will, even though that
by flexing her neck muscle.
Well. Yeah, but that doesn't get used that well. And so then they fight him again, and he beats their ass again. So they're looking pretty pathetic at this point. But we do get the best extended sequence of Altered Beast running around with the Gatling gun, kicking all kinds of ass, looking fun. And then he turns into full bear mode. He goes full bear, which I don't know.
You never go full bear, man.
Yeah, but no,
never go full bear.
But what's funny is I wouldn't think that full bear would be more powerful than man bear pig.
I told you it was fucking lazy writing.
Yeah.
It's lazy fucking writing. I thought if he went from bear to man bear, then I would have been like, oh, okay, that's his next evolutionary step. But you go from upright punching to I'm a fucking bear.
Well, he had extra bulk though. He was bigger as a full bear.
He was a fat bear ready to go to sleep. And I'm not fat shaming him, but he looked like he was ready to hibernate. And somehow
he did look like he was going to look for somebody's picnic basket soon.
No, when he was man bear, yes. When he was bear, no. He was ready to go to sleep and somehow absorbed his pants and shoes into his form.
Yeah, I don't want to think about that too much. He becomes full bear in part.
Mind blown.
It is cool to see full bear fighting the soldiers and shit, but I think the main reason was so that his girlfriend could ride him, his invisible girl, whatever you want to call her, is riding him into battle. And then so they go to fight the big guy again, and the best moment of the movie is when full bear goes after Bane, and Bane just fucking punches him, knocks him out with one blow.
Knocks out a bear.
It was rad. I did love seeing him punch that dude. But these guys suck. Like, fucking Bane is just kicking their ass left and right. And so, for some reason, Winter Soldier doesn't want to show up for the battle for most of the battle. He finally shows up. They get their ass kicked anyway. And so he
harpoons them all together.
Yeah, that's right. They added a harpoon to his costume.
Yeah.
So he uses his bat grappling hook to hook a plane that they piloted in on, and he wraps everybody up in metal cord, and they go flying off away from this dude, retreating. And then the dude's like, "I control machines, dumbasses." And so he starts to crash the plane. So they have to cut the cord, so they all fall in the water, even though they're falling from the height of like a skyscraper. And so they should be hitting the water like it's fucking concrete. But instead they float. And he was full bear when they hooked him. So it's like, so did he suck his pants and shoes up into his asshole? Because when he comes out of the water, he's a man again wearing pants and shoes.
No, that's not the worst part. The worst part is they're ready to run back up there, and Nick Fury or whatever her name is says, don't. We just launched missiles. And we've just gone through an entire fucking film where they all know he controls technology.
Yeah.
And he even laughs at him. And I'm sitting there thinking, let's see.
You're so stupid. We're like, yeah, you're right.
What in our arsenal could blow up things, but doesn't have anything mechanical? Oh, an actual bomb that you drop from a plane that has no computer parts to it. It's just...
Well, no. Remember, he controls all machinery of all kinds.
No. It had to be computerized, remember? Because he has those electrical arts.
Cars and trucks and shit. He's controlling guns.
No, he doesn't control guns. He controls anything that's mechanical, machines that have computer parts. The cars,
we forgot to mention, too, that he also has a bunch of Ed 209.
Which actually were kind of cool.
They were pretty cool, yeah. Because they had like extra like fucking...
But no. Remember, he needs...
strafe mode.
He can only control machines. If you drop a fucking bomb that goes boom when it hits something, problem solved. Because really the biggest problem was, how do we take off the force field? Which Invisible Girl grabs...
daisy cutter. You just drop a daisy cutter.
There you go.
You're all
something
done.
that doesn't have any kind of computer parts to it. I'm sitting there and I'm thinking...
Well, he's got a range issue, too, because his
artillery shells.
But no, that's what I'm saying. His master plan is he's going to create a great big tower that allow her to communicate with a satellite that'll let him control all the machines on the planet Earth.
Yes.
But because he's got a range issue, you just have a plane high enough, or you fucking, it's the Russians. Don't they have like a laser that they can just shoot him from space or something? You can't control a laser, but you could also have a bomber just drop a daisy cutter on him and then end of day. Even if the daisy cutter doesn't make it and he takes over the plane, as long as you release the daisy cutter, you'll probably blow up enough around the building to knock the building down.
Again, my biggest thing was you have a rock guy who controls rock. Why doesn't he just make the building tip over and land into it?
But instead, what do they do?
Again, the tower is surrounded by buildings. It's in the center of a group of buildings because apparently those buildings are tied to it because they're walking some kind of land bridge across.
Even if he couldn't control the buildings, he could like ram boulders into the buildings until they fell over on top of the giant antenna.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's
bad.
This movie.
But how do they actually defeat the dude?
The Care Bear stare.
Yeah. It turns out that even though they've made a big deal about these powers all being genetic, that they were worked on by, super science, they can apparently flow their energy between one another and create. I thought what they were going to do is I thought it was going to be like Voltron. I thought they were like, I thought they were going to merge into a Zord.
I thought they were going to pick one and he was going to absorb the powers of all of them.
Yeah, that was the other thing is I thought
the other ones are like they're laying there weak, almost dying.
Yeah, and they got like Infinity Man or
I figured he was going to have like maybe 10 or 15 minutes where he has the full power, and if he doesn't return it to him, they'll die.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that's
this avatar
neat.
that has all their powers and none of their weaknesses and kicks the guy's ass. But no, that's not what they do.
They do the Care Bear stare.
Yeah. It's an energy pulse that knocks over the building, and so the dude's like, what just happened? And he falls with the building and dies, and that's the end of the movie. And then they have the moment in Avengers, literally they're on the same kind of bridge, talking about, well, we're going to go back into hiding, but if you need us, when you need us, you can come holler.
Wink.
And Brigitte Nielsen makes a point of saying, there's one more thing. We found more Guardians. It's like, well, no shit. Literally, like the third scene of the movie is her finding the 4 Guardians plus a whole bunch more. So we know that's coming. So no big deal. So yeah. And then we get the stinger where was she the one who was almost getting killed?
I have no idea.
It looks like, I think it was Brigitte Nielsen had been captured by some
No, that's not her.
That's not Brigitte Nielsen.
No, it was some other girl.
Okay, some other chick. And so the chick manages to fight these guys off and break their necks. And she's like, who sent you? Like Fathom. And it's like, that's supposed to mean something. Because this is like a Russian comic book or anything. It's like, who the fuck is Fathom and who gives a shit? So we've got welcome to the initial.
I guess that's their version of Hydra.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, we may actually find out because the Chinese investors that helped get this movie made are going to make another movie with more Chinese characters in it, I guess, for the geared toward the Chinese market, because this actually flopped in Russia. This is like the Russian super team, and they didn't even make back their budget in Russia, and their budget was only like $5 million.
Wow.
Yeah. But
overspent.
But in its defense, I thought it was entertainingly bad.
No, this has no defense.
No, I thought it was entertainingly bad. I think that if we weren't watching it at 3 a.m, morning, I would not have kept dozing off during the movie. I do like the theme song. It's some fake Lord shit, but I think that's pretty decent fake Lord shit. And I would say that this looks like it has the budget of a solid 4 Asylum movie. I thought it was going to wait.
What?
I'd say four Asylum movies. I think it's a quadruple Asylum caliber movie. Like, you know, the Asylum movies, the bullshit knocks off Transmorphers, that kind of shit.
Okay, because I was going to give it two
Snakes on a
I was going to give
train.
it a 2 sci-fi movie of the week films.
Asylum provides sci-fi with many of their movies, so it's just kind of the same thing. I think it's a quadruple sci-fi.
Sharknado.
It's got like 4 times the Sharknado budget, I would say. Like, for starters, I was warned that there wasn't a lot of altered beasts in this movie, but there's tons of altered beasts in this movie. It's not good CGI.
I was about to say, he's horrible.
He's at least throughout the movie.
He doesn't even match.
I did like too that his transformation sequence is exactly the same every time, where they show his backside, and they already have it in the opening credits. So you're like, oh wow, okay, they're showing him transform this early on, and then they repeat it like 4 times. Yeah, but economical, frugal, points for frugality.
I can't find one redeemable part of this movie. Like, I watched it, and I would watch this if we were all, if we did the Mystery Science 3000 on it, I would have been fine. If we were talking shitter, but we sat here like,
I don't know if it's a bad in an MST3K
if
way.
we sat here not speaking to each other watching the film, I was like, fucking just in now, you fucker. If we were cracking,
especially after they get beaten by the dude for like the 3rd fucking time.
I tell you, dude, if we were cracking jokes,
see, here's the thing. One thing that drives me nuts about comic books in general is they want to put all their effort into making the super team, and they always come up with one dude who's going to be the super villain, right? And so at the end of the day, it always takes like 5 dudes to fight the one dude. So it's kind of almost like bullying. It's like, wow, you got to just team up with this dude. This dude's way more powerful than you guys. I should be rooting for the one dude. And it's bad enough when that happens and it's something like a Magneto or an Apocalypse. But when it's Sloth and you get your ass kicked by Sloth repeatedly, and there's no like Sloth and his team, or like you got beat by him one time and then you rally. It's like, no, you never defeat him. The only reason why you beat Sloth is because you knocked down the building that he was in using a bullshit Deus Ex Machina power that you shouldn't have. The Guardians suck. And so it really undercuts if you're wanting to create a Russian super team. Look, Russia can have super team as good as the US. No, man, your guys kept getting beaten by the one dude over and over again. That's not a good, your win ratio is really fucking terrible. But I thought the powers were kind of all right. The displays of the powers. I think the main problem is nobody bothered to write a script for this movie because there's no character development. They never try to develop these characters. And it's just one set piece after another. They just keep fighting the same guy throughout the movie and having boring expository sequences between them. It's constantly about telling you stuff. They don't show you anything. They're just constantly
They try to give some emotion when he talks to Bridget Nielsen and says, the bear wolf, and he's like, if I turn and I can't turn back, help me.
Yeah, literally. It's
and he walks
a
off.
Sequence where Bridget Nielsen is saying there,
I might
and
not be able to change back.
I wanted to prove that I could beat my brother in a fight because he was always better than me.
Oh, no, you're talking about Ninja Guy.
And then I accidentally beat my brother to death. And it's acted as that way because it's him being like, and I will never forgive myself. It's like, dude.
Let's not forget Man-Thing when he's like, have you ever seen your daughter die? Pray you never have to.
Right. No, that was Rock Guy, I thought.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, because when Rock Guy's recovering from having his back broken, he's talking about, it's so hard being a Highlander. It's like, oh yeah, I remember that speech from Highlander. Okay, you guys are doing Highlander now. All right.
It did feel like they were just stealing stuff from other movies.
Invisible Girl had amnesia, so her big speech was, I don't remember anything before 1978. It's like, 1978 was 40 years ago,
No, she goes, that's when I had my first real memory. And I'm like, okay. I've been alive 40 years, and I age slower, so I'll be forever young. I'm like,
I feel bad
and she
for
kept
you.
doing that fucking Wonder Woman smirk.
The thing that bugged me is she woke up with the ring, and it's
doesn't
clear
know who gave it to her.
It's clear that it's clear that Altered Beast liked it and he put a ring on it.
Oh, you know that.
So where was Altered Beast for the last 40 fucking years then? You know,
running around in the forest.
So yeah, not so much of the movie doesn't make sense. It's so much of it's badly written.
It made no sense, dude.
Characters, but I still thought it was mildly amusing, and I do I do dig Altered Beast. Even as bad as the CGI was, Altered Beast is still a lot of fun.
No,
it's a fucking man bear pig with a fucking Gatling gun. How do you not dig that?
This movie was so bad. I will never watch it again.
I'll see the sequel. I'll watch the sequel when it comes out.
Tell me how that was, man, because this movie was just bad. And it wasn't bad like funny, like, haha, that's so stupid. It's more like,
it was definitely, it wasn't funny bad. It was definitely just bad.
If it was funny bad, I would give it a pass. But it was so bad. Like you said, it felt like maybe they were writing a script every day as they showed up to set. Like, okay, what's gonna happen today? This, because we need to get here tomorrow. There was like no connection, no connective of tissue from scene 1 to scene 50.
Well, I mean, usually when you got a cheap superhero movie, the way they make it work is by having a lot of like dialogue scenes and a lot
I
of
would rather
work.
watch the Corbin Fantastic Four movie.
I would too. That's
one.
a pretty good movie, actually. That's
I would
not
rather
bad.
watch that over this.
I would too. It's a good movie. For $1 million movie, again, it was 1/5 its budget. The Corbin Fantastic Four is actually
Fine.
pretty good.
I would rather watch the Sci-Fi Man-Thing movie.
I've never seen that one.
Oh, it's bad.
Okay.
Not this bad, but bad.
I wanted to go into this movie saying, "Oh yeah, it's better than Suicide Squad," but it really wasn't. It wasn't. It was better than Suicide Squad. I mean, no, Suicide Squad was better than this. Suicide Squad was better than this.
It had like what, 10 times the budget though.
It was better acted. It definitely had a better soundtrack. But it is funny. But there were a lot of
soundtrack.
parallels,
That's just
though.
straight rip off from Guardians.
I like the part where they at the end they're like, we're like family. It's like, you guys don't even have enough personality to be like buddies. They're definitely not family.
Okay, I'll give you this. Can't touch any of the Marvel movies. Look, I love them all. Can't touch Hellboy movies. Most of the DC movies get a pass on this one. Even Wonder Woman. Suicide Squad though.
Nah, Suicide Squad's still better.
I don't know, man, because they do the same shit where they fucking jump around a lot. Like, Harley Quinn, the Joker story, like that whole, what you always love saying that, Ex Machina shit that kind of happens to push the story along. They did have the moment of, we're bad guys. That was their whole, each character telling their reason for whatever. That was their, we're bad guys moment. I mean, I'll give Suicide Squad a little bit more, but really, it's just production. If you gave this movie the same budget as Suicide Squad, same CG, this movie would be more entertaining.
No, I wouldn't.
Dude, the witch from Suicide Squad is so stupid.
I agree with you, but
the villains are so bad.
The main, I think that this movie could have overcome the bad acting. I think it could have
That's what I'm saying.
I think it could have overcome the bad special effect. At least there's a lot of it.
Wait.
At least it's not like in the 90s where you had like two set pieces and that was it. This movie is almost all set pieces. The problem is they did not write a script for this movie.
They didn't for Suicide Squad either.
So they could, if they didn't need that much money to write a script, they should have written a script. So more money would not have meant you'd have gotten a script.
You give them same budget. You let them do the fucking intros for each character, have their own fucking song. I still find this villain more interesting than the Suicide Squad one because
I'll give you that.
They take on
the villain is the biggest badass in the movie, so that's not really fair.
Okay, so right off the bat, they already have a better villain, and the only thing that the saving grace of the fucking Suicide Squad is the intro. The rest of the movie's garbage. That first part where they introduce them to the characters, I can watch that and then I stop because the rest of the movie is a fucking train wreck. This one was a train wreck. I'm sorry, man. You give them the budget, I think this movie would beat it.
Margot Robbie is hotter than any of the
Don't
chicks
give
in
a
this
fuck,
one, though.
dude. I'm a bad guy. Go fuck yourself.
Will Smith has way more charm than anybody in this movie.
Will Smith is not charming at all. Is that?
But he's more charming than anybody in this movie.
I don't know, man. Bear Guy, you get that fucking straight hardcore
Bear Guy
CG.
is definitely better than Killer Croc or
I don't know. You give Bear, you give Ninja.
Bear Guy is pretty fucking rad.
You give him that CG money. You give him some more and let's really translate the dialogue. And don't let Goyer touch the story. Somebody else.
No, if Goyer would have done a way better Guardians script. Come on. I don't care how you feel about David Goyer. He would have been better than this writing. The writing is what takes this movie the most.
I don't know. This be one of our supposed what ifs, because I'm thinking, what if you give him this movie I see could beat Suicide. The only thing that had if you take Suicide Squad and you take out Will Smith and Robbie chick, you
still got Amanda Waller, dude. Amanda Waller still rock. They went too psycho with her killing all of her own people and shit. But
you take those two out and you put two unknowns,
and it's a great.
That movie's shitty. Then you take those two actors out and you put two unknowns, because the rest of those actors, I don't know. Even Jay Hernandez, who I'm gonna support him. Even he was shitty in that movie with his SI girlfriend. That movie's a fuck. I think you're giving it a pass because it's DC. I'll let you give Wonder Woman a pass.
No. It's still more entertaining. It's still more entertaining than that. I went into this movie wanting to. That was going to be my big slam. I was like, hey, Guardians is better than Suicide Squad, but it's not. It's not. I mean, you're already having to deduct like most of the stars of fucking Suicide Squad.
No, because
it was just El Diablo and Killer Croc and the Enchantress.
Because you're like, Will Smith is charming as fuck. I'm like, and actually he wasn't. He was actually.
I'm not saying he's charming as fuck. I'm saying he has a discernible personality. Nobody in this movie has a discernible personality, and it's not helped by the fact that there are like 3 voice actors dubbing this entire movie, and they're all from like video games.
Yeah,
the voice acting in this movie is really fucking terrible. But
you got me thinking now. If I'm in my mind, I'm putting the movie together.
I will say, I do have to say that the human form.
I'm
of
putting the movie
Arsus,
together with better CG. The story gets a little tweaked here. The villain is way better than anything Suicide Squad has. We take out that we're bad guys villain part bullshit. This movie would be your very basic superhero movie. Still makes more fucking sense than Suicide Squad.
I will say the human form of Arsus has way more personality than Scott Eastwood in Suicide Squad. I'll give you that. But I don't think he's quite up to Joel Kinnaman levels. I think that Rick Flag had a little bit more juice.
The thing is, Suicide Squad tried to shoe in Joker and all that bullshit, and it was just.
Oh, okay, yeah, that is definitely a blow.
Yes,
I'd actually managed to forget all the Joker shit until you just mentioned, and I even mentioned Harley Quinn, Margot Robbie, and somehow I think I'd managed to suppress the fact that Jared Leto's Joker was in that movie. That is a point in your favor. That is a point in your favor. Oh fuck yeah! Oh shit, that hurts. Oh shit, maybe Guardians is better than Suicide Squad because it doesn't have the Joker.
Oh my god, I'm franking. Hold on.
That might actually, yeah. At the very least, it's now a competition because Leto was just so fucking awful.
I'm telling you, that's what I'm trying to explain to you. Suicide Squad was a fucking wreck. I own the fucking movie. I will watch it sometimes, and I tell you, when the intro was done, I can't watch anymore. It is so bad. Dude, when Diablo turns into Aztec Flame God, I'm fucking insulted. I'm insulted.
I need to protect my family that I've known for like 90 minutes, and they're a bunch of assholes, and they fucking goad me into, shit.
Telling you.
Holy crap.
Take that budget. You give
so
this one.
Fucking bad.
The reason I bring this up is a friend of mine hadn't seen Suicide Squad. She wanted to watch it. I fell asleep. I was snoring during the movie. I watched the intro and I started snoring. She got pissed. She goes, "Why do you keep falling asleep?" I said, "Because this movie's bad." And it's not that bad. When we got to the end, she was asleep.
Yeah.
I said, "What the fuck? You fell asleep?" She goes, "Oh, the movie's boring." I'm like, "No shit.
Yeah.
No shit." This was midday.
I can honestly say, if I had tried to watch Suicide Squad at the time of night we started Guardians, I would have passed out for sure. I will say that while I think that Suicide Squad's highs are higher, there are a lot of extended sequences of Suicide Squad that are worse than anything in this movie.
I think you're giving the movie.
I think this movie has
You're giving it more of a pass because you're thinking more of the books and the characters from the books than the actual movie.
No, I was thinking about the movie, but I literally had suppressed all the Joker stuff. I forgot about the Joker shit.
That's so fucking stupid.
Really fucking bad. And also, Suicide Squad was really racist. This movie was not at all racist. I mean, the coolest human is an Asian, and there's to my knowledge, there's no Asian stereotypes. I'm not aware of what stereotypical Russian Asians would do. There's no Killer Croc in this shit. There was no,
give me that BET, bro.
There was none of that shit with Common. It's like, okay.
No. The worst part is when she has the phone and he goes, "Who's that?" "That's my friend." "Are you my friend?" I'm like, oh my god, they made Harley Quinn a whore. She was cool as Joker's sidekick that he beat up, where they had that abusive relationship. So you're kind of like, that's fucked up. They've went from that to he's literally pimping her out now to like other villains.
That was really
to get
fucking
some.
gross. Yeah,
dude, that movie is fucking a wreck, dude. So I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just glad you kind of starting to see where I'm trying to come from. Again, my dyslexia, my broken brain doesn't let me communicate good. Brain broken, but
Joker was your secret weapon. Joker was so fucking horrific.
Dude, that to me, honestly, I'm telling you,
but
you watch
also
the intro.
Racism, though. The racism in that movie.
You watch the intro. I still think she's like the worst Harley Quinn ever because she's basically a hooker. It's not Harley Quinn. That's just, I hate that Harley Quinn. But the intros, like when they do the music to the character introductions, those are kind of interesting. After that, done. I really hate their villain. What's her name? The witch.
Enchantress.
I think that character. I think it's so stupid.
Yeah.
So stupid.
Yeah.
Like, David Ayer should be ashamed of himself. He should be ashamed of himself.
You keep saying Goyer. Oh, David Ayer.
Ayers.
Yeah. No, he definitely should. I want BET. Oh, fuck you, man. Fuck you.
Well, his big complaint, well, I only had 2 weeks to write the script. Then you should have fucking walked away
Don't
from
be
the
a racist
project.
then. Okay.
Yeah. Well, is Killer Croc back?
Yeah.
Is he? I wasn't sure. Because he's always portrayed without race. In the comics and the cartoons.
He's a black guy in the comics too. But
no.
Well, let me put it to you this way. Who are the two people that sold him being black the most? Fucking Ayers and fucking Brian Azzarello, who turned him into a pimp with his own strip club and shit.
I never read
Broken
that.
City.
I never read that shit. So.
Fucking Azzarello again. I hate that fucking dude.
And then of course you have the fucking drunken Irishman. And by the way, happy St. Patrick's Day to you. Apparently today's St. Patrick's Day. So
yeah, I completely.
Oh no, wait, he's not. Wait, he's not Irish. Is he Aussie?
He's Australian. Yes.
Okay, my bad. That's my bad.
I don't think all drunken Australian is about as big of a stereotype.
All you white folks look the same, so I'm sorry.
He just drinks Fosters.
Who was in that fucking movie besides Jay Hernandez, the Aussie, Will Smith?
I'd actually managed to forget about Captain Boomerang too, and I know that he was supposed to be a highlight.
And my
of the
favorite,
movie.
the molester dude with the ropes.
Oh Jesus, yeah, Whiplash. Oh, not Whiplash.
Climby
Slipknot.
dude. Yeah, Slipknot. The Native American.
Yeah, who's in the movie for second? Like, I don't know. Does he get a full minute total?
I don't know, but my understanding is in the books he's a rapist. That's all I know.
Not in the comics. In the movie, he wasn't a rapist in the comic.
Okay,
they did that shit for the movie just so that when they killed him off, you're like, well, good, he was a rapist anyway.
Okay,
but
so I knew there was one. I remember there was one. I'm like, what? Like they're bringing out sexual offenders? Not like the Suicide Squad. Really? They're really scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Well,
like,
Dr. Light was a member, retroactively turned into a rapist. So that what actually does.
So again, you give this movie the budget, Suicide Squad's stock is just plummeting.
I think Guardians has a very consistent level of bad, where Suicide Squad fluctuates wildly in how bad it is. So, and it really does bottom out at a lower place than Guardians. So
yeah, because I was sitting there, because I was sitting there when we were talking about it, I was like, because I was gonna fuck with you about this being up there with some of the DC movies, but I'm like, nah, most of the DC movies are pretty good. But when I got the Suicide Squad in my head, I'm like,
maybe Suicide Squad, yeah,
like that's a really, really bad movie.
I'm
that
glad
movie got past because that was all about promotion, characters from other shows, the cartoons and shit, not the actual characters in this fucking movie, but from the comics and shit. And I was like, that movie got a fucking big time pass for a lot of bullshit. Because, I mean, everyone loved the Sugar Skulls. I thought that looked cool. And when it first came out, I was like, oh, this movie might be cool. And then, oh.
Yeah, I'm glad that we're on the same wavelength, too, that Suicide Squad, it goes to a place that Man of Steel and Dawn of Justice does not go to.
No,
it's definitely a worse movie. Because the one
I would watch
Dawn of Justice is the one that everybody
Wonder Woman,
yeah.
Man of Steel 10 times before I would ever want to sit through Suicide Squad again.
For some random reason, Paquita want to watch Suicide Squad. It came on cable, and we didn't make it much past the opening sequence when she's like, "Okay, I'm done." It's like, yeah, no shit, please.
I told you,
I would have been disappointed if you did not
watch
tap
the
out.
opening sequence, and then I tune out. Like,
well, and that's bad too. It's all about the soundtrack. And,
yeah,
and
it is. That's all it's about. Everything else is just bad. So I just thought I'd throw that in there and throw that little monkey wrench in your.
Well, and I did like that this movie had actual soldiers instead of turd monsters.
No, I thought, you know what? The villains in this, I love the fucking robot tech.
Yeah,
I like
the Nines were pretty cool. Actually.
I like the Metal Gear Solid soldiers. They actually look cool. I like that guy who they had like I guess some kind of headgear with multiple ports for their eyes.
I think they were cyborgs.
Yeah, I thought that looked cool.
I like that they had the balls to actually chop people up.
Yeah,
they chopped up a hell of a lot of people.
I bet you, like I said, you give them the budget, Rock Guy shit just goes up 10 points. Ninja Guy, dude, you don't really got to do nothing.
But the writing is as bad. If
Bear Dude's stock goes up fucking Microsoft levels. Yeah. Invisible Girl,
that poor thing.
Yeah, it's not. You can't do a lot with her. The villain goes from
you could use it, but she turns into water. It goes
from sloth to like maybe Master Blaster with like a helmet and shit.
Actually, no, she does get better because if she turns into water, then you can have her like sliding under doors and getting into places.
Oh, she turns into like a steam.
Yeah, you could do some shit with that.
Yeah,
they could have gone somewhere with that with a little bit more of a budget.
I can see that. Yeah,
or less sexism.
That would actually. Yeah, she takes on the form of different liquids so she can harden herself like ice.
Well, if you allow for intangibility, she suddenly gets a lot cooler. But just plain invisibility.
Well, the fact that they didn't,
because she doesn't even have like the fucking force bubble.
I was just about to say that was the only thing is I hate the fact that they didn't give her the ability to create like force fields.
Well, if she's going to be Invisible Girl, at least make her fucking give her the full.
Either that or shoot lasers or be psychic or something.
But water, she could drown people. She could get into.
But now we're kind of getting a hydro.
Yeah, why not? Yeah. If she turn into water or don't turn into water. This bullshit where she's like invisibish.
That would be kind of cool to see like a stream of water like moving around corners and shit. Kind of like it reminds me of from I don't know if you watched Batman.
She should have been the one to escape from her own cell and save the other guys.
Well, like Batman. Well, Batman Beyond, they had a character named Ink.
Yeah.
Where her body was liquid, and so you would always see her like kind of bounce around shit. I always thought that was pretty neat. Real quick, my biggest one of my big gripes about this movie, besides it being better than Suicide Squad, is I hate speedsters even more now because their god level powers are ridiculous.
Well, they had to take Kong out of the entire third act so that he could not beat everybody. He never fights the main villain.
That's what I've always hated about the Flash. Quicksilver, I let him slide because I don't think Quicksilver's as fast as the Flash. My problem is, why, if you're running that fast, I thought when he put on the mask, I was like, oh great, they're going to fucking finally solve the problem of if you're running so fucking fast, you can't breathe oxygen because you're moving faster than...
Well, they were good. He just has short bursts.
Yes, but I thought that would be cool that that's his limit, is that basically he can only move if he can hold his breath. Because that's what I love about Yo-Yo from S.H.I.E.L.D. is it's in the beat of a heart. So she's limited. She can't fucking pull this shit where she's taking out 50 dudes and then sitting there with her little fucking smirk. I was like, oh, he's going to have the mask that absorbs air, so it lets him do... I was like, no, they didn't do that. I was like,
well, fuck. He's teleporting. It's not even super speed. It's teleportation.
Actually,
he's nightcrawling all over the place.
That's what I've always hated about the Flash.
It's the same effect, dude. The same wafting
the
smoke.
little poof. But they actually show a little bit of his body moving. So I guess, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
No, he's teleporting. Okay.
Good enough on that one? Tell me your
This one goes out to Michelle Berg for her Google Plus One and Ali Batts for her Facebook like. From the 100-day sage, Ali Batts, Ange and Chris at Bad Books from Beginners, the Cineboard Podcast, Coffee and Comics, Daniel French for Sponia Sound Design, Darren and Ruth, Sutherland, David Golding Art, The Hammer Strikes, Random Daily Geeky Stuff, I am Grant Victor, Jeffrey Brown, Joe Crawford, Keith Jebecca, Chris Tataros, Kyle Benning Likes Comics, Longbox Crusade, Myrna Loy, Odell Abner, Dracula, all the things you said, all the things you said are running through my head, all the things in my head, and this is all the things that he said are running through my head, running through his head. This is not enough. This is not enough. All the things she said, 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 all the things she said. And also was said by our Other Adventures Podcast Network and Ronnie Caldwell, Relatively Geeky, Ryan Daly, Siskoid, Tim Price, Warlord Worlds, Wonder Woman Warrior for Peace Podcast, and Xenozoic Xenophiles.